So hello everyone. I want to show you guys how to interact with Riverpod, how to make use of Riverpod in your project. So here we're just going to start with the basics. So you can see here if you go to the documentation or if you go to Riverpod, that's Flutter Riverpod. Make sure this is the general one. So make sure to go to the one for uh, Flutter Riverpod. That's make sure to go to one to the one for Flutter itself. So you can just click on this, then maybe you can just click on here to add it to your project. So on adding it to your project, you just press Ctrl S to fetch it. So once you're done fetching, you can now go back to your main activity and your main class. You just wrap all these. You wrap your my app here with provider scope. So provider scope, you can see it here. So I'm doing this based on it to automatically allow us to import. So you can now paste this there. So it's asking for constant. So let's give it a constant and then remove this constant here. So we could see this is all what you need to do. No nesting of provider and stuff like that. All what you just need to do is add this base class here, and that's all. So from there now you can now start working with your application. So here now we can create another screen here. So let's create another file. Let's call it maybe let's say maybe main is it main, can we use main page or maybe home page? Okay, let's use home page dot that. So with this now we can just type stls. We don't need to make use of stateful widget here because those are actually the things Riverpod help us to undo on the net. So you can do home. Let's name this home page. So with this now, we can go back to our main class here. Then we just copy everything on home page here. So we just copy this. So, but here, since we here they are using a stateful widget because they wanted using set state here, but we are not making use of set state because of what we are using. So here now we could just we could even customize it here. All what you just need to do is remove this states here because we want to convert this to stateless widget. So let's delete. Okay. Yes, we can delete these also. So with this now, what else do we need to change? Okay, we can change this to stateless widgets. Stateless widgets. Stateless widgets. So with this now, you can see, okay, we don't longer need widgets to access the upper class. So also this also is invalid. So what we can do here, we can just copy this old class here. So we can just cut it. Then we'll go to my page here. Then also here, we can just even delete everything here and just paste it here. So with this now, we have our home page. So this also still reference the home page. So all what you just need to do is import. That's control dots. So we import our home page. Then I'm going back to home page now. So the things there are several ways you could use this with stateful widgets. So let's import our material that. So and also this we can just remove widgets and leave it as title. So with that now, all what we just need to do also here is that we could create a new. We could create. Let's create a folder. So let's follow a good pattern. So we could do something like sorry, we could do home. Then we now put this in the home page. Okay, I think this is not a class, a folder, so let's delete this. Then we'll create a folder, so let's call it home. Then inside the home, we take this inside. Yeah, we'll move it inside. Then that means we also still need to re-import if it does not automatically do that. So also we could create something like another folder here. Then we could create a view. Then we could create another folder called maybe provider. So inside here now, we can take this home into the view. Yes. So we could take it into the view. Then also for the provider now, we can now create home page provider here. So we do new file. So we can now say maybe home page provider dot dat. So with this now, all what we just need to do is to use our state. There are many type of provider you could use for your stuff, but here there's just one we need to use, which is just this. That's using you could use your state notifier provider, but there's also another one we could use that's the simplest one. You don't need to do something complex. So that's one. I think it's in the documentation. That one is all about using state notifier. So with just that one, you could actually listen to states. So you could listen to states directly. So this is one you could use. But for using this provider, it does not change with the values are changing. So it does not rebuild every time. So it's advised to use this state provider. That's whenever you have just something simple you want to use. So here now, all what we just need to do is look for state provider. So all what we just need to use is something like this. So then go back to our project. Then we just paste this here. So that's state provider. So uh, control dot to import. So also these we only want to deal with a string and sorry an integer. So not a string. So we are only dealing with int. Then we can just call this a counter. So and again here now we can just make this a single line. So we can delete this. So then we just make this a single line. So it's very simple once you start to get the gist of it. So here now, then we just add 0. So this 0 now is the same thing as maybe adding a bracket and then returning 0 here. So returning 0. So then we need to add this. So it's the same thing as doing this, but actually the returns that other method for returning statement is quite very good. So what this single line just mean is that you're creating a counter it's a state provider. Then you're telling us okay the type is integer. You could also remove it, but it's also very good to just give it the type, that's to externally define the type, either it's a string or whatever class you're using. So you could define the type, then the return type also is here. Then this is like an anonymous method. So the reason is that we could actually use this ref if we have like a block now. We could use this ref maybe to listen to another provider. That's just what this ref is meant for. So then we'll call it final and counter. So now it's a global method. Can we say a global method now because it's not wrapped inside any class. So here also now we could come here now. So there are several ways to listen to Riverpod variable here. So what we need to do is to change this to a consumer widget. That's consumer. So consumer widget. So with that now, what we need to do next is just to add a widget reference here. So then we'll call it a ref. Then here now we can now go here and now maybe create a final variable. Then we call maybe counter now to be equal to uh, counter to be equal to uh, then we'll call ref dot. So there are many ones you could use here. You could use read, you could use refresh, you could use watch. But the one we're going to use here is watch. So because we want to listen to the counter provider, so counter. So I think let's give it a better naming. So you could use counter provider. So going back to our home page, so you could come here and just change this to counter provider here. So then that's it here. So with this now, we can go to where we are listening to this. Then we just call our counter. So this is it. It's done now. So let's check whether what we did is right or wrong. So we can just press this plus. You can see it's still updating the way when you're using stateful jet is also doing. So we can go back to our code. So a brief recap now of what we just did is wrap with a provider scope. So then in your main class now, you could use a consumer widget. So once you use a consumer widget here, then you could do something like you could use ref.watch here. If you use read, it will only read the provider ones and it will not listen to it. So but once you use watch, so that means it will continue to listen to it. So that's what this one does. So you could see we could just only call counter here to update this text. Then we call inside this on press here, we use ref.read, then call the state and then add plus the state. So whenever you do this now, you see that this will automatically be updated. But make sure you don't use watch here. It's advised not to use watch in on press. So the safest and the recommended way to do it in maybe whenever you are in on press or on click or whatever is just to use the read. So another one we could use here is to use instead of using this consumer widget, we could actually just remove this. So instead of wrapping everything inside uh, state that's stateless widget, so instead of wrapping everything inside the consumer widget, another thing you could use is just to wrap just that text view inside. You could just wrap just the text view you want to listen to inside a consumer widget. So we could just click then wrap. Let's use mm, let's just use wrap with a widget. Then we change this to a consumer widget. Con consumer. So on changing this to a consumer now, we need a builder. So, and you can see the builder takes in a context, a ref, and a child. So this context is in case you need to access the context, and ref also that's to have access to the provider itself. Then child now, I think anyone you want to exclude that you don't want to rebuild again, that's the one you add under this child. So, but what we're going to do here is that since we don't need the child here, or even the context, we can just put an underscore here. Then also this one will put an underscore. So then here we just return, we take this text view here, just cut it, then cancel this, then we just come here and then return the text here. So you could just do return. So let's format our code. So we could just remove this comma here. So then okay, so it has formatted. So it's saying okay, so let's add two here since we've used one for this one. So the next thing we're going to do after doing this now, you could see that it's now asking us for uh, it's now asking us to use to give a scope, but since we've removed this scope here, so from the general widget here, so that's why we can just come here. So we paste yes counter. So inside here now, so you can just do something like paste this here. So sorry, that's out of. So you can see that I solved this. So that's when you only want this text view to rebuild. You don't want the whole page to rebuild. That's whenever something changes. So that's it. So here also we need to wrap this around a consumer widget, but for stuff like this, it's actually just advised. It's advisable for you to just use the general one, change the whole class to a consumer widget. But here we just want to try to use consumer widget and wrap those that are only concerned. So, but it's advised to use the general one when you have it like this. So let's wrap it around a consumer widget. So we could do this. Then we need to provide a builder. So the builder now takes in this. So let's create a method. So all what we just need to do is return, so cut, then delete this. Oh, sorry. So we just cut, sorry, we cut for the whole floating action button, so X. So cut this out, then just do return, then you paste this here. So with this now we could see, so we could now just take this, then we could see the ref here is provided. So we don't need this, you could use underscore if you like. So let's rerun this and see whether it works fine. So go back to this. So I think it has not rebuilt yet. So let's check. Okay, so I think it's done rebuilding. So let's click again to see whether it's changed. You can see now the changes, it's actually updated. But because of this floating action bar, I would just prefer us to use a general consumer widget for this. So the other ones you could methods you could use also consumer widgets. You could use hook widgets also, or hook consumer widgets if you're using hook. So there are other things you could do. So thank you for joining me in this tutorial. See you in the next one. So I would also try to go over all the other providers you could use on the Riverpod. Thank you.